Good evening. I'm going to talk tonight about all the legislation that has been passed that can be labeled anti-transgender youth. This is a complex issue, and there are really four questions that need to be addressed for us to get a full understanding of the problem that our legislators believe they have discovered. The first question is, what is gender dysphoria? Gender dysphoria is described as a sense of discomfort, unease that a person experiences when they realize that their biological gender is not the same as their gender identity or what they think of themselves as a male or as a female. This is not a mental illness, although many transgender people experience severe anxiety and depression, but that is a consequence of this dissatisfaction or mismatch between one's biological gender and one's gender identity. They also experience anxiety and depression because they are the subject of verbal abuse and worse. The medical literature is unequivocal. Gender dysphoria is a real phenomenon, as real as fibromyalgia, chronic Lyme disease, chronic fatigue syndrome. Number two, since gender dysphoria exists, are physicians and mental health specialists obligated to treat it? The answer is yes. Our ethical directives instruct us to care for anyone whose problems, physical, emotional, cause distress in their life. Number three, if we choose to treat, what treatments will we use, hormonal and or surgical, and at what point in a person's life do we apply them? Do we treat teenagers differently than adults, for example? The last question, number four, is how are these people to be treated in secular society? Now, the first three questions, in my opinion, are to be addressed by the individual who's experiencing gender dysphoria, his or her family, and the medical and mental health specialists who that individual contacts to help him or her solve their problem. So the legislation prohibited trans females from participating in girls' sports. Let's just look at the numbers and turn down the rhetoric, the hyperbole, and just look at the facts. There are, by the best estimates, 0.5% of the population that considers itself transgender. Assuming a proportionate representation in Tennessee with 7 million people, that would be 28,000 adults. I suspect there's less since the state is fairly inhospitable to transgender individuals. In 2021, Tennessee had 3,150 youths ages 13 to 17 who considered themselves transgender. Assuming that half of them are trans male, half of them are trans female, that works out to about 1,700. per gender. Assume that 50% of Tennessee high school students participate in sports. So 50% of the trans female would participate in sports. 50% of 1,700 is 850. There are about 20 different sports, if not more, that high school students can participate in. Tennessee has 42,000 square miles. Hence, there is about one trans female for every 50 square miles. One trans female for 50 square miles. I just don't think that athletes on girls' teams are going to experience a fatal body blow if a trans female participates in their sport. You would think, given the rhetoric, that legions of trans females are besieging the girls' athletic teams, knocking them out of playing positions, and worse, depriving them of access to scholarships. One trans female who wishes to play sports per every 50 square miles. With those numbers in mind, let's rethink the legislation that has now been passed into law. Thank you.